What if the greatest hurdle to your pleasure, tranquility, and true freedom wasn't the environment around you, but the ego within you? The ego has a way of directing your thoughts, your emotions, and even your sense of self without you recognizing it. But here's the truth: it's all a delusion. In this video, we'll expose the ego's most deceitful trick, reveal how it keeps you stuck, and show you the key to breaking free once and for all. This could be the moment everything changes for you. Are you ready to see through the deception and restore your inner peace? The ego is commonly misinterpreted. It's not fundamentally bad or wrong. It's a survival instinct that evolved to protect us. In its simplest form, the ego is your sense of self. It's that inner narrative continuously establishing who you are. It says, "I'm successful because of my job," or "I'm a failure because of my mistakes." But this identity is weak. Why? Because it's constructed on conditions. The ego's job is to establish a gap between you and the world. It loves labels: good, terrible, right, wrong, deserving, unworthy. It thrives on comparisons. I have more than them, or I'm not good enough because they're better. This constant judgment keeps you caught in an endless cycle of highs and lows. Think about it. When you achieve something, the ego celebrates, but it's short-lived. The instant you meet failure or criticism, the ego panics, sending you into self-doubt. This is how it maintains control. It makes you feel like you always need more success, more validation, more approval. But here's the kicker: no matter how much you chase, it's never enough. The ego's appetite is insatiable, and the sooner you grasp this, the sooner you may begin to break free. The ego is crafty. It works behind the scenes, altering your ideas and emotions. One of its favorite methods is creating continuous distractions. Have you ever tried to sit in solitude, only to be inundated by a stream of thoughts? That's the ego at work. It doesn't want you to be present, since the current moment is when its control diminishes. The ego feeds on overthinking. It makes you revisit past mistakes or worry about future uncertainties. Why? Because as long as you're caught up in these conceptual cycles, you're too distracted to recognize the truth. The ego isn't you. Comparison is another cunning tactic. The ego continuously compares your worth against others. They're more successful, or I'm better than them. These beliefs may appear harmless, but they imprison you in a never-ending loop of superiority and inferiority. This is how the ego keeps you hooked, by making you feel either not good enough or falsely superior. The instant you start observing these patterns, you begin to disarm the ego. You recognize that these thoughts aren't personal. They're just habits. And like any habit, they may be unlearned. Fear is the ego's secret weapon. It whispers doubts and insecurities, holding you locked in place. What if you fail? It says. What if people judge you? The ego utilizes fear as a barrier to growth. It convinces you to stay in your comfort zone, where things feel secure and familiar. But here's the truth. Fear is nothing more than a projection of your imagination. It's not real. It's a fiction the ego tells to maintain power over you. Think about the last time you wanted to take a major step, whether it was starting a new career, expressing your feelings, or pursuing a dream. What stopped you? Chances are it was fear of failure, rejection, or the unknown. But was the terror based on true danger? Probably not. Most phobias are imaginary, founded in what-ifs and hypotheticals. The ego feeds on this because fear keeps you locked. It makes you second-guess yourself, overanalyze decisions, and delay. But when you understand fear for what it is, an illusion, you begin to strip the ego of its power. Fear can't survive in the current moment, since it's always related to the past or future. By anchoring yourself in the now, you diminish its grip and take back control. The ego's ultimate deception is perhaps its most deceptive. It convinces you that without it, you'll lose everything: your identity, your ambition, your feeling of purpose. It makes you believe that you need it to survive. But this is the greatest illusion of all. Imagine a bird that's been confined for so long it forgets what it means to soar. The cage becomes its reality, and the prospect of leaving feels terrible. This is exactly how the ego functions. It produces a false sense of safety, assuring you that the barriers it constructs are safeguarding you. But in actuality, those boundaries are what's blocking you from enjoying true freedom. When you start questioning this, the ego fights back. It might say, "Without me, you'll be nothing," or "If you let go, you'll lose control." But here's the secret: letting go doesn't imply losing control. It signifies obtaining freedom. True control comes from aligning with your deeper self, the part of you that's related to calm, clarity, and purpose. The instant you realize this ploy, the ego begins to lose its grasp. You realize that you don't need to cling to these fake identities or stories. You are not your triumphs or failings. You are something considerably larger. Awareness is the cure to the ego's tricks. When you notice your thoughts without judgment, you create space between you and the ego. This area is where transformation happens. Let's assume you discover yourself comparing your life to someone else's. Instead than getting caught in jealousy or insecurity, you merely observe the thought, "Oh, my ego is comparing." Again, this simple act of observing interrupts the loop. It's like turning on the light in a dark room. The shadows dissipate. Awareness isn't about suppressing your ego or battling against it. It's about seeing it for what it is, a part of you, but not the true you. The more you practice awareness, the more you connect with your genuine self, the person that lives, beyond thoughts, labels, and anxieties. The beauty of awareness is that it's always available. No matter where you are or what you're doing, you can pause, take a breath, and become present. And in that presence, the ego loses its power. The illusion of control is the ego's playground, the stage where it puts on its most convincing act. The ego convinces you that control equals security, that if you can only manipulate the elements of your life precisely, you'll finally feel safe, successful, and happy. But control is a mirage. It doesn't genuinely exist. Consider the weather. No matter how much you plan, you can't stop the rain from falling or the sun from setting. Yet the ego tells you that you can control people, outcomes, and even time. This illusion creates constant anxiety and frustration. You overthink discussions, micromanage situations, and stress over results, all in the name of control. But what happens when you lose the demand for control? Life doesn't fall apart. It flows. You begin to recognize opportunities that were concealed beneath your tight plans. You manage obstacles with grace since you're no longer preoccupied on how things should be. Letting go of control doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop grasping. Imagine being in a river. The ego seeks to swim upstream, exerting itself against the current. Letting go is turning around, letting the river take you. It's not passive, it's believing that the current knows the path. This adjustment isn't simple, but the peace it gives is unsurpassed. The ego's fear of vulnerability is the ego's kryptonite. It regards openness as a threat since being vulnerable involves exposing your genuine self. The ego lives on masks. It hides behind successes, position, or perfection to avoid the risk of rejection. But these masks are heavy, and carrying them drains your energy. Think about the connections you value most. Are they built on shared accomplishments or shared authenticity? True connection comes when you allow yourself to be seen, flaws, and all. Yet the ego fights this because it connects vulnerability with weakness. It whispers, "What if they judge you? What if you're not enough?" But here's the truth. Vulnerability isn't weakness, it's courage. It's saying, "This is who I am," without apologies or pretense. It's embracing the danger of being seen because the reward, genuine connection, freedom, and peace is worth it. When you embrace vulnerability, you recapture the energy the ego used to maintain its boundaries. You grow lighter, freer, and more aligned with your genuine self. Start small. Share an honest thought with someone you trust. Recognize a mistake without defensiveness. These acts may feel unpleasant at first, but each one eats away at the ego's castle, revealing the strength and beauty of your genuine self. How the ego hides in spirituality. The ego doesn't disappear when you begin on a spiritual path. Instead, it adjusts. It murmurs, "Now you're exceptional because you're spiritual." It turns meditation into a competition and enlightenment into a goal. Suddenly, the ego is using your spiritual practices to enhance itself. You can find yourself thinking, "I'm more conscious than others," or "I've read more books, thus I know better." These attitudes build a subtle superiority, a division between you and others, the precise opposite of what spirituality strives to achieve. The ego loves this paradox because it keeps you chasing an identity, even in the name of advancement. True spirituality is about destroying the ego, not feeding it. It's about unlearning, letting go, and reconnecting with the essence of who you are. It's not about labels or milestones. It's about being present and open. Recognizing this trap is the first step to conquering it. Approach your journey with humility, recognizing that the route is not linear and that the ego will want to lead you astray. The instant you detect the ego hiding in your spiritual activities, you take back your power. Awareness disarms the ego, allowing you to enhance your connection to the present moment and the truth within. Living beyond the ego. Living beyond the ego doesn't mean eradicating it. The ego is an inherent component of being human, a necessary tool for navigating your world. But issues come when it takes control, controlling our thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. To live beyond the ego is to change from mindless reaction to conscious response, going through life with clarity, awareness, and inner serenity. When the ego prevails, it continuously seeks reinforcement from external sources, likes, promotions, acclaim, admiration. It teaches us that our worth is judged by what we achieve or how others perceive us. But in truth, true worth doesn't come from these transient marks. It emanates from within. When you no longer depend on external affirmation, you create an inner stability that helps you to negotiate life's ups and downs with grace. The highs of achievement no longer inflate you, and the lows of failure no longer define you. You become free from the emotional roller coaster that the ego causes, experiencing life with a stable sense of contentment. Imagine waking up without the incessant mental chatter of the ego. Instead of worrying about how you are regarded or wondering what might go wrong, you are entirely present. You notice the warmth of the sun pouring through your window, the perfume of freshly brewed coffee, the subtle compassion in a stranger's grin. These moments, frequently neglected in the ego's persistent pursuit of significance, grow richer and more significant. The ordinary changes into the remarkable when you are not lost in the ego's narrative. Of course, this transition doesn't happen overnight. It is a progressive process, one that emerges through awareness and practice. Meditation, mindfulness, and self-inquiry serve as strong techniques to help quiet the ego and reconnect with your true self. Through these activities, you begin to recognize that life beyond the ego isn't about accomplishing anything new. It's about recovering what was always there. Beneath the layers of fear, attachment, and identity comes a deeper, more true presence that has always been part of you. The power of surrender. Surrender is the ego's biggest fear and your greatest liberation. The ego thrives on control. It craves certainty, security, and predictable consequences. But life, by its very essence, is uncertain and ever-changing. Surrendering doesn't imply giving up or becoming passive. Rather, it means surrendering the impulse to control everything and trusting in the natural flow of life. The ego rejects this with all its might. It whispers, "If you let go, you'll lose everything." But the paradox is that true surrender doesn't lead to loss. It leads to gain. When you yield, you acquire clarity, freedom, and tranquility. You stop struggling against reality and begin flowing with it. You cease opposing what is and start enjoying life as it comes. Think of surrender as shedding a heavy rucksack you've been carrying for years. This rucksack is full with worries, expectations, judgments, and the illusion of control. It has dragged you down, made every stride feel heavier. But when you let it go, something wonderful happens. You feel lighter, freer, as if you were never meant to carry all that weight in the first place. Surrender doesn't imply you stop making decisions or taking action. Rather, it means making choices from a position of presence and clarity, rather than fear and attachment. It is acting in sync with life, trusting that things unfold in their own time and pace. In this state, you begin to see a reality that the ego could never reveal to you. Peace isn't something to be found. It's something to be unearthed. It has always been there, beneath the clamor of the intellect and the demands of the ego. When you yield, you open yourself up to the immensity of reality. You become attentive to the knowledge of the current moment, rather than sticking to preconceived notions. You begin to see that life is not occurring to you, but through you. Each encounter, whether pleasant or challenging, becomes an opportunity for growth rather than a threat to your identity. Integrating this into daily life. Understanding these notions is one thing. Living them is another. The question remains, how can you integrate this into your daily life? Observe the ego in action. Start by just noticing when the ego takes over. Is it when you feel the drive to prove yourself? When you compare yourself to others? When you dread failure? Awareness is the first step to transformation. Practice presence. Bring your attention to the present moment as often as you can, whether you're eating, walking, or listening to someone. Be fully involved. The more present you are, the less place the ego has to dominate your mind. Embrace uncertainty. Life is unpredictable. Instead of dreading uncertainty, learn to trust it. Recognize that the craving for control is the ego's illusion, and real serenity comes from submitting to what is. Let go of attachments. Notice what you're holding to. Opinions, success, relationships, material items. Ask yourself, is this attachment benefiting me, or is it keeping me trapped? When you release attachment, you create space for something deeper. Cultivate compassion. The ego typically thrives on separation. Us versus them, right versus wrong. But as you soften into compassion, you destroy the illusion of separation. See yourself in others and see others in yourself. These tiny modifications, applied consistently, build tremendous transformation over time. The more you let go of ego-driven worries and attachments, the more tranquility you unearth. The more you trust life's unfolding, the freer you become. And there you have it, the road to breaking free from the ego's clutches and achieving true serenity. It's not about reaching some distant goal. It's about waking up to the reality that has always been here, beneath the cacophony, waiting for you to notice. If this resonated with you, don't forget to like the video, share your opinions in the comments, and subscribe for more insights to help you awaken to your actual self. Until next time, stay present and stay free.